What's up, guys? Here with you with FC Wonderkid, episode 99. Here with my guy, Breton. How are you?
Well, I think I am doing better than Manchester United, better than Brendan Rodgers. No, just kidding. Episode 99, man. We are one away from a century mark. Before we even get into the football, how are we feeling? 99 episodes later, you still like me or something? Are we excited for what's to come?
The journey has just started, Breton. I'm so excited. Episode 99, and don't forget to like this video if you're excited for episode 100 like us. And yes, so much is happening, and in this Premier League season, I'm gonna call it the sacking season, okay? Brendan Rodgers, Conte, and I think Graham Potter might be next. Because we all see now Fabrizio agreeing with you, Breton, that you mentioned in episode 98 last week, Nagelsmann to Chelsea interest. Which that would be so insane, man. But great shout, Breton. I wanted to shout that first. Great show.
It's unbelievable, but come on, we know what Todd Boehly's doing, and he's looking. There's no way that Todd Boehly did not have on his mind as one of the most intriguing, potentially available managers. It's just I don't think, as Julian Nagelsmann, I just don't think Boehly ever thought that he would have the chance to go after him now, and to do so without a 60, 70, 80 million euro package just to get him to leave Bayern Munich. So if you have the chance to go after him, this is one of those ones that I agree with you. If he's the one you want, and Graham Potter, as of right now, is not working out for you, and he's already lost essentially any Chelsea supporter right there, Todd Boehly, if you're going to spend your economic power, spend it in that capacity, okay? Because you're going to have to grow with this kid. I mean, he's a kid. He's a kid manager still. 35, and he's already got a resume. So it's like the one thing in his spending spree that I would say, go for it, Todd.
Wonderkid manager. Yeah. But we'll talk more forwards about Chelsea because that loss for Aston Villa didn't look good. But come on, so unexpected, but necessary for everyone to watch. That is a successful rebuild with Newcastle that went bold and beat Man United 2-0. Man United are absolutely dependent on Casemiro and Eriksen. Bruno Fernandes needs these two midfielders. McTominay, Sabitzer, not good enough if Man United are going to get top four. Clearly, Casemiro, one of the most important players in the Premier League. Man United, this is going to be very hard of a month for Man United without Casemiro now.
But listen, yes, that is bad. But if we're talking about most important players for Manchester United, I honestly still don't hear it. I don't hear it enough. And you know what? I haven't heard it uttered from your lips yet, Alex. Kieran Trippier is one of the most important players for Newcastle, and he's probably one of the most important players in the Premier League right now. Am I so off base in saying that? Like it both ways too. Both ways. His delivery, his consistency. Yeah, it's phenomenal. And he had a hell of a game in that game. But my goodness, I mean, if you're gonna spotlight Trippier, if you're gonna spotlight Pope, you're gonna spotlight Dan Burn, you got to spotlight Sven Botman, you got to spotlight Fabian Schär, because once again, you just clean sheeted. Is that a verb?
It is.
But
you can say that.
Yeah, it is now. But yeah, come on, 19 goals conceded, 27 games played. This Newcastle defense is for real, and it's one of the biggest reasons even when they were going through a tough, rough patch, that you knew at some point they would get through it, and got through it. They have.
And Sven Botman, what a game from him. I completely agree with you, Breton. And Man United in the first half didn't do one shot on target against Newcastle. Hadn't happened in the Premier League this season. And that was because of Botman, Trippier, and so solid of Dan Burn of a game. Dan Burn, shockingly left back, and now everybody's got to know that he's the left back of Newcastle. Like, in set pieces, Dan Burn's height, like, he's one more to go with Fabian Schär and Sven Botman. And I want to say, Eddie Howe, he grabbed this Newcastle team that was fighting for relegation. And in 16 months, he might be getting top 4. So the manager of the season next to Arteta will have to most definitely be Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe is going so bold because Newcastle didn't even spend a huge amounts of money to sort the defense out. I'd say Alexander Isak paid off, and Bruno Guimaraes is a world-class midfielder. Not a lot of midfielders can be in the same sentence of Bruno Guimaraes. 100%.
And hey, they're turning St. James Park into a fortress again, which is exactly what Newcastle fans have always wanted, and it's been a very, very long time, and it's been a tumultuous journey. But right now, I mean, I'm not going to say they clearly didn't dominate United. United had their chances, right? When all was said and done.
First half,
yeah, I guess so.
First half, I see Newcastle dominated, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, and the funny thing is they, offensively, I guess it was obviously pretty even. It's not like Newcastle was knocking on the door too much in that first half, but they were doing all this without their top scorer. Whether or not it's a top scorer you ever expected to have, but they were doing this all with Miguel Almiron on the bench. Not on the bench. He was in the stands, watching the game in the stands. So I'm excited. And by the way, we didn't even mention the fact that Newcastle is now officially in third place because of goal differential. And if you want to compare the goal differentials, this is where it gets absolutely weird. Third place in the Premier League, which is Newcastle United, has a +22 goal differential. Fourth place is Manchester United, and they have a +4 goal differential.
Defense wins titles, and for Newcastle wins them a third place. There you go.
Yeah, man.
Great stat.
It's huge.
That's a great stat.
Yeah.
But once again, with this game of Newcastle, we realized that at Man United, Weghorst isn't the answer. Sabitzer isn't the answer. Maguire has to go. McTominay doesn't give guarantees. Bruno Fernandes doesn't deserve this. Rashford doesn't deserve this. So we have to see new signings, new midfielders, and a top striker in this team. Osimhen would have won this game, in my opinion, for Man United. They missed the finisher. And Weghorst didn't do the job. So I wanted to highlight that. And
I've refrained from my critiquing of Antony as of late because he did show signs of maybe pepping up some, but he's just I know he's still in a transition period in the Premier League, and I get it, like the compensation package, you expect more from the get-go. I'm just not entirely sure that Antony is going to be the answer long term at Manchester United.
He's a bit overpriced, for sure.
He's definitely overpriced.
Sancho is hitting top form. Antony will be the first winger to go because Rashford let that man at the left. Leave that man at the left. But again, Eriksen and Casemiro, very necessary. And I'm talking here midfielders, absolutely necessary. Another team that in this weekend, it was very noticeable that they need midfielders, was Liverpool. Man City dominated Liverpool with a 4-1 win at home. And no Erling Haaland, but Julian Alvarez was there. World Cup winner, 17 goals and assists this season. And he cost Man City 18 million. Already extended his contract, deservedly so, and that's a Man City legend in the making. He does resemble Aguero, Le Araña, so I wanted to give that first shout. It's true, he does resemble him.
And I don't know who was saying it. I think it was Antonio Cassano that was potentially saying that Julian Alvarez is a more complete forward than the man himself, Erling Haaland.
More talented.
Potentially more talented, but come on. I mean, I'm never going to argue with 42 goals scored in a season, and you still got again. Once again, I mean, the only thing that ever is really going to hold Erling Haaland back is Erling Haaland himself, right? It's his groin, or it's his physical nature, and whether or not he can stay healthy. And hey, guess what? Manchester City did not need him to shellac Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool. And I gotta be honest with you. I get it. Like, Liverpool has some of the most, the loudest fans online, right? I mean, next to Arsenal, I guess. And I applaud all of it. I love it. I love how excited people are for their fandom. But this up and down, it's going to drive people to heart attacks. It's going to drive people to clinical depression in many ways because it's giving me a headache. After the 7-0 win over Manchester United, for all intents and purposes, a historic 7-0 win amidst a terrible, terrible season so far for Liverpool. Here's what they've done. They've lost to Bournemouth. They lost to Real Madrid, ending all hope of a Champions League run. They lost to Manchester City after scoring the first goal. And guess what, Alex? It does not get any better. On Tuesday, they play Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, and that's a desperate Chelsea. And then on Sunday, they could potentially play spoiler to Arsenal's title bid when they take on Arsenal at home. So I don't know how people are Liverpool fans these days because the up and down Jekyll and Hyde is so hard to keep track of. That was just a trash performance when all is said and done.
It's true. And then when you see the next season, Firmino's already, he's gonna leave. Naby Keita is gonna leave. Liverpool will have to sign new players. So I'm very curious to see what's going to happen next season for Liverpool. But going back to Man City on my end, I want to shout out City legends in the making. It's not companies that we're talking here. I'm talking here of a player, Riyad Mahrez, a Man City legend that now is the Premier League, in the Premier League has the most assists for an African player with 56. A legend that won the Premier League too with Leicester. He surpassed Didier Drogba with this stat. So congratulations to Mahrez. And another legend that the reason why too, another legend that is vital for Man City to win 4 leagues in 5 years is Akin Gundogan. Gundogan against Liverpool was everywhere, and he showed the ability and the experience that he has. World Cup, like world-class midfielder. World Cup. But I want to say Gundogan is underrated. One of the most underrated midfielders this decade, in my opinion. And then again, a Man City legend and Dachmannschaft legend too. Like, he was remembered at Dortmund. And technically, he's so gifted, Gundogan. Why don't you shout him out?
Well, essentially what you're telling me is that Pep Guardiola is going to have a tough way forward because he's going to have to do some replacing long-term as well.
Tough.
And it's not as...
Because, Perrone was... He's been signed. Maximin Perrone for 9 million. Cole Palmer's growing. You got Enrico Lewis there. James McAtee.
Yeah.
I see. But he does it. I think he does it.
But listen, James McAtee, I get all that. But, like, if we're signing players, like, I don't know, Mudryk for potentially a package of, 100 million or whatever it was, baseline 60 million pounds, okay? And we're buying them now for the future because it hasn't exactly panned out right away. Then what are we expecting from, like, a Maximo Perrone coming in who really hasn't played too much top-tier ball to just slot in for a Gundogan? So I think he's going to need somebody well beyond Perrone. I think they're going to actually need to sign somebody. I mean, do you not agree? You really think Perrone is just a step on in, you got it, bud?
I think Perrone next season will already have minutes in the Prem. I think you got players there, like, again, I say Cole Palmer. I think Calvin Phillips didn't work out, but Jack Grealish, he's showing results now. I think the overall squad of Man City, they're just ridiculous depth. And even Guardiola, he became the fastest manager to reach 100 wins in the Premier League and 128 goals. And he does that because of the ridiculous options that he has. He has so much money available for every transfer market that if he doesn't win, like, people are going to point fingers. And again, no Erling Haaland playing, but Erling Haaland signed a big lucrative deal with Nike that he's going to be getting 25 million per season. So Nike have Mbappe and Erling Haaland. So, like, this is dominance. That's a big move from Nike to sign him.
When's he going to get his own shoe, huh?
You'll be getting that most certainly. But it's interesting to see Norway is sponsored by Nike too. So a bit like Portugal, Ronaldo maybe in the future. Let's wait and see.
Fair enough. I am glad, and I do need to kind of echo your sentiment. It was kind of buried in there as you walk through the depth. But Jack Grealish had a very, very good game against Liverpool. And he was everywhere. Whether it's foul suffered, whether it was I believe he assisted the equalizer, right? And then he actually added one of his own later on in the match. But most importantly, he actually was back on one of those plays where, was it like a goal line clearance or a goal line type of interception, if you will, that was knocked back. It was a pretty dangerous counter that he stopped. So listen, Grealish is not the 100 million man that I think people were expecting, but ultimately, at least they're getting some money for what he's growing into a role. He really is growing into a role at Manchester City. So he deserves love for that game. He deserves love. I think he's popped up in some other big fixtures. Definitely, I think he had against Liverpool, and I think he also had a very good game against Arsenal, if I remember correctly. But I have to go back to my notes.
It's true. They beat in the Emirates, but Arsenal did play better that game. I remember that one.
Yeah, okay.
And it was like more of an efficient one. I think 3-1. I'm not sure on the results, but 3-2 maybe. But yeah, that's true. And you talked about Arsenal right now. We gotta talk about them. 4-1 win, and Arsenal are 9 wins away, 9 games away of winning the Premier League. And Arteta, what a month it's been this past month for Arsenal fans. Arteta wins the best manager of the month. Saka wins for the first time best player of the month in the Premier League, and Ramsdale has the best save in the Premier League. And let's talk about Arsene Wenger being in the Hall of Fame. Okay, so that was another big award for Arsenal fans that Wenger deserves it so much next to Alex Ferguson, the two managers to go to the Hall of Fame of the Premier League. So I was really happy about that.
Yeah, it's all good stuff. But I think the most important development here, as you mentioned, they're heading into the home stretch of the season as they try and win the Premier League title. And the most important development for Mikel Arteta, beyond his, what is it, 4th Coach of the Month award in the Premier League, it is the fact that he's got Gabby Jesus back. And my goodness, is he back. Scoring his first goals, I believe, his first and second goals since, October?
13 games, right? I think.
Yeah, I mean, he's back from injury, and my goodness, if he plays the way that he played, okay, and I get it, there was a weird dive, and there were some other things. Hey, doesn't matter. That guy covers ground, and that is a weapon you absolutely need and depth you need as you approach the end here. But I have to remind you that after this brace from Gabby Jesus, okay, Arsenal now have 5 gunners in the top 15 of goal involvements in the Premier League. Okay, so we've got Gabby Jesus at 15th with 12. We've got Gabriel Martinelli at 10th with 16. Leandro Trossard, yes, there's some Brighton goals and assists in there. And Odegaard tied for 7th with 17. And Saka in 3rd with 22 goal involvements. 5 in the top 15. I mean, that's a team affair, is it not?
That's a great stat right there. And again, this Arsenal team, if they win the league, it's because of the overall involvement of the team. Saka wasn't starting against Leeds, but Martinelli was there in Trossard. The efficiency of Martinelli this season. Played every game in the Premier League for Arsenal, and he's got 13 goals and 3 assists. Like 2 goals away of becoming the Brazilian with the most goals scored in one season in the Premier League. Martinelli will do that. Under 22 talent. That's great to see. And again, Arsenal signed Leandro Trossard this January, and they didn't sign Mudryk. That is true. He's got 0 goals, 1 assist, and Trossard has 1 goal and 7 assists. Ridiculous involvement. And that might be the signing that ends up winning the league for Arsenal. So you were right on that one, man. but Mudryk long-term. Mudryk long-term.
Yeah, I mean, Mudryk long-term, but we're talking about Trossard like he's, 46 years old. Trossard's going to be around a while. And Mudryk is, if Todd Boelhy is who I think he is, I don't think his patience is going to last the 8-year contracts that he has been signing these players to. And do I think Mudryk will come good? Sure.
I think so.
But I know that most of the people that are maybe more critical than I am, whether it's on Twitter or wherever, they took that one highlight and they ran with it. Yes, I don't understand what Mudryk was doing on that breakaway. I don't understand why he was just trying to pass it, whatever. But yes, Mudryk is young enough. I think he will get through this. He's transitioning, and it was probably naive of everyone to think that he would just hit the ground running. But when it comes down to it, I honestly believe the biggest thing that is going to be needed for Arteta and Arsenal this offseason, whether they win this or not, right? Whether they win it or not. And I am trending in the direction of sticking with my assumption that they're going to win this thing. They are going to take it to the finish line. Mikel Arteta probably needs to get paid more. Anyone? I mean, have we done an extension for him yet?
It's true.
Because he's not in top 10 paid. You know how much Potter's getting paid?
13.5 million, which is quite bold.
You saw it. It's quite bold. And you know that's like 4 times higher than what Arteta's getting paid base salary?
And Xavi. Xavi
was 10th on that list, right?
The 12th. But just so people have a perspective, the top well-paid managers in football, we have Simeone with 34 million. We have Guardiola with 22. So that's a 12 million difference. Third, Klopp with 18. Fourth, Graham Potter, 13.5 million. And fifth, Allegri, 12.8 million. And Xavi earns 3.8. He's number 12. And you're mentioning that Arteta is not even in the list. Not even in the list, which is embarrassing.
I absolutely like Nico Kovac.
Yes.
Nico Kovac and Xabi Alonso are both making more money than Mikel Arteta.
Xabi Alonso deserves. Xabi Alonso deserves.
So far, really? He's barely even in the European contention for Bayer Leverkusen.
Leverkusen will go on. They are in a deep run in European competitions, and they're 8 games unbeaten, which I will be referring to them more forwards in a 3-4-3 formation. That Xabi Alonso, genius. But if Arteta would sign the contract now, I think he'll be earning the 5 million that Xabi Alonso is earning too. So it's not. Kovac for me is shocking, earning above of Xavi. But again, we're mentioning all this earning more, earning less. And why we might be seeing another manager going to Chelsea, as we were talking about with Graham Potter, that, yes, he's earning 13.8, but that loss to Aston Villa was so, it's damaging mental-wise, in my opinion, losing 2-0 in the Stamford Bridge. Enzo Fernandez, he couldn't do anything. He looked so lost on that field. And Mudryk, yes, that was a bad miss. That everybody on Twitter was saying, oh, he's not Eden Hazard. That we see Eden Hazard now in Real Madrid playing, but that's another talk.
That's also because Eden Hazard actually was doing what he was doing for Lille. I mean, we look at Mykhailo Mudryk's CV, right, and where he's come from. He didn't break in to the 11 at Shakhtar until really relatively recently. And he's not 17. He wasn't doing it at 17. He wasn't doing it for Lille like Eden Hazard before coming to the Premier League. And yes, there's massive differences between Ligue 1 and the Premier League, just as there are massive differences between the Ukrainian Premier League, especially one that is going through a war, and the Premier League. So I am, I'm not worried about Mudryk long-term. I think we might wind up coining him as way too expensive for what they bought him, and they probably could have bought him for a whole lot less if it were any other different period of time and it wasn't directly after a $5 billion sale. But when it comes down to it, I'm more surprised how slow the attacking buildup, or how slow the decision making is for every attacking player on that pitch, save maybe João Felix.
Yeah.
Everyone looked a step too slow. Like they gave him that little bit of hesitation that allowed Courtney House or whoever the heck was part of that center back line that does not involve Diego Carlos right now until he's back healthy again. Villa's going to look good when they get him back. But they allowed them to shut them down every time. Kai Havertz was like a step too slow the whole flipping game. And it was like the whole attack, except for João Felix. And to be honest, I think the person that played with probably the most intent, especially attacking intent for Chelsea, beyond Enzo, because I think he's kind of a shoo-in, it was Ben Chilwell. Ben Chilwell is the only one that literally takes it down and then immediately looks to do something dangerous with it. And you really aren't seeing that elsewhere. So I think that's a Potter thing. I don't know if that's a player thing. They're like caught in a mindset that freezes them that instance. And it was just infuriating to watch because it felt like they should have been able to put a couple past Emiliano Martinez.
True. And great shout, Breton, of the lack of finishing at Chelsea. Kai Havertz ain't doing it. Sterling ain't doing it. I'd put Ziyech more. João Felix, he's doing everything he can do, and he's playing well in my opinion. But he needs a top striker in front of him. Lukaku next season should even be considered on loan, okay? And Broja, injured. Broja would be playing. With Felix, it would be better than what's in this play. But the player that I'm going to blame, and I'm going to blame Potter putting him in this scheme. In a 3 center-back system, Graham Potter put Cucurella playing at the same time that Ben Chilwell. That can't happen when on the bench you have Chalobah and Benoit Badiashile that's playing good football. I know it's left center-back, but still, Cucurella does mistakes, and he can't play in that position of center-back. And again, next to Ben Chilwell? What? How can that happen? Koulibaly, Reece James, I couldn't understand the tactics. And that's what's infuriating. You look at this Chelsea team, you see a squad. But the organization, in a press conference after losing 2-0 to Aston Villa, Graham Potter, you shouldn't be talking about the XG of McGinn. That's not what Chelsea fans want to listen when you're going to play Karim, the Dream and Ramadan season at Real Madrid. That's not what you're going to focus about. So again, the more time passes, the more I think Graham Potter's going to leave Chelsea 11th. They're in the second page of the Premier League right now. And they're closer to the relegation fight than to the top 4 fight. That says it all. It's not getting easier for them anytime soon, right? They've got Liverpool coming their way. But also, with that, the free agency depth getting much deeper when it comes to managers. Todd Boelhy has a decision to make. And if Julian Nagelsmann was actually on the short list from day one as his most wanted person, probably next to Zinedine Zidane, Nagelsmann, I think you just have to do it. And this, from a manager perspective, Graham Potter at Brighton spoke to me. I believed it. I mean, he was in his element. He was not quite a minnow in a big pond. He was more of like a medium-sized fish. Wasn't quite the shark, wasn't quite the minnow. He was somewhere in between, and he was content to be that. I still don't fault him for taking this job and wanting to go, but man, does he look. He looks a man defeated, and he looks a guy trying to make it look like it's rolling down his back and he doesn't care that much. And that in turn is infuriating people. It is infuriating people, including myself, I rate him. I still rate Graham Potter as a Premier League manager, just not maybe the guy you want to, entrust your $5 billion franchise to at this moment in time, while you throw 650 new players at him every flipping transfer window. But I think before we go, any further beyond this Chelsea game, I also have to give kudos to Unai Emery and to Aston Villa, because Ollie Watkins was a lost puppy at the beginning of this season and at the end of last season. And most Villan fans were like ready to cast him off into the sunset, or whatever that saying is. He's now the first villain to score in 5 consecutive away games, and his 5th one being at Stamford Bridge. And on top of that, you've got a 21-year-old, Jacob Ramsey, homegrown Jacob Ramsey, outplaying almost everyone on that pitch on the day. Okay? Almost everybody on that pitch. And it's Unai Emery has a canvas from which he can paint the next several years. And I'm really intrigued about this Aston Villa team from here on out, with all the players. Diego Carlos coming back, Emiliano Martinez saying he's happier than all get out there and putting in a shift as well. Douglas Luiz extended before the summer ended. I completely agree with you, Bretson. And I gotta say, Unai Emery, Stevie G's sacking and the Unai Emery appointment was the best thing ever happened to Aston Villa, because since then, only Arsenal and Man City have more wins than Aston Villa in the Premier League. 9 wins in the Premier League, okay? So big shout out to Unai Emery for the phenomenal job that he's doing. Because this team, they were in the relegation battle maybe if he wasn't doing this good of a job that we see at West Ham. That we see at West Ham, that we see Conte being sacked at Tottenham. We now see Tottenham fans, understandably so, saying, we have no hope. We have no hope with Daniel Levy there because Conte and Mourinho, that are serial winners, cannot win at Tottenham. And Mourinho was even sacked before a cup final. That was ridiculous at the time. And Mourinho would have won the first trophy of Tottenham's new management. 100%. And ridiculous.
Well, I'll tell you what. At least Spurs fans have seen their new boss. He was just freed up. Okay? Who? And that's Brendan Rodgers.
What? You reckon?
I do. I think that's right up Daniel Levy's alley.
That's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Harry Kane's leaving with that. Harry Kane's leaving with that.
He probably is. Yeah, he probably is. But I for some reason, I just, Brendan Rodgers, Tottenham. Yep, seems like it fits.
I could see that happen, but Vincent Kompany would be bolder. But I would prefer Vincent Kompany. I'm going to say that. I know Brendan Rodgers, 4 years, 4 phenomenal years. Well, not the ending. Never the ending. But Brendan Rodgers, in the 4 years at Leicester, he won an FA Cup. He won a Community Shield. And yes, Leicester was always fighting to get good positions in the Premier League. So overall, it wasn't bad.
Fifth twice. And you got to remember what happened to Leicester City, right? I mean, we all remember 2015, 2016. We remember Sir Claudio Ranieri. I don't actually think he's a sir. But Claudio Ranieri, I mean, that guy went from hero to villain pretty quickly. Not villain, like well-respected guy that needs to leave like right away. That type of situation. But Brendan Rodgers leaves Leicester City with a better winning percentage than Claudio Ranieri. It was 47% to 44%. Okay. So I actually do agree in some respects. Like it's not ambitious in a Spurs sense, I guess, but it's a guy that can show that he can do very, very well. And he's shown it at multiple places. Okay. He has not become the personality that a Jose Mourinho is. He has not become the personality, but Spurs aren't, I'm going to say it, Spurs are probably not going to win it with somebody like, now we can say it because Antonio Conte has been sacked, but a personality that is basically bigger than the club itself. Okay? But you need somebody that's going to be part of the fabric of the club, and I believe Brendan Rodgers could actually be that person, even if it does feel like they're under ambitioning, which is definitely not a verb, but I just made it one.
But they are under ambitioning because, like, Conte didn't get financial backing. And if they get Brendan Rodgers, when you have Luis Enrique available, when you have now Julian Nagelsmann available, it's going to be one of the biggest disappointments of this century in football. I'm going to say that. It's going to be ridiculous for Tottenham fans. I want to see their reactions afterwards. And if we're talking Chelsea, like long-term, in the history of football, it will be seen as ridiculous, the choice of sacking Thomas Tuchel and putting Graham Potter as a top 5 earner in managers in football. It will be seen as ridiculous long-term. I wanted to say that.
It probably will be. It was definitely a little jumping the gun, if you will, after what has come after this. It's absolutely unbelievable that it ever happened in the first place. But listen, Leicester City's, leaving or exit as of mutual consent. So it's not technically a sacking, if you will. But Brendan Rodgers leaving Leicester City, that becomes, I believe, the 12th departure of a manager in this Premier League season, which is not just a record. It blows the other record of 10 out of the water. It's the 12th in one season, and we're likely going to see 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 more, and we might even see one as soon as Tuesday when Liverpool and Chelsea face off, and it's Graham Potter versus Jurgen Klopp. So I think Rodgers, whether it's Tottenham, whether it's wherever, I think he's got a CV well enough, good enough, robust enough. He'll land on his feet. But my goodness, you could go through almost a best 11 of managers right now that are sitting waiting for a call. And it's only going to get more crowded out there. Come on, Antonio Conte, Julian Nagelsmann, Brendan Rodgers, Patrick Vieira.
Zidane.
I mean, we could throw a bunch of Zidane. Zidane's been there. Zidane's like sipping his pina colada somewhere, I guess.
Give
I
a
don't
blank
know.
check to Zidane. I don't know how much he
Yeah.
should be earning, but Zidane should most definitely be in the top 3 earners of managers. If Graham Potter's earning 13.8, like Zidane should be earning 25. Double.
Yeah.
But double on that.
I know, but Zidane's waiting for that French national team.
Won't
is
happen.
what it seems like. But really quick tangent, I have to say. The French women's
Yes.
signing of Hervé Renard, love it. Absolutely love it. And I wish him good luck. That French team is just waiting for a Women's World Cup at some point. And if he can get that ship rolling in the right direction, I think he's got other massive opportunities in the future. But anyway, complete and utter, tangents that I just wanted to throw out there. But beyond this,
if we're on tangents, I think we need to talk about the new manager that was bold. There was a bold appointment of Bayern Munich that had an answer against Borussia Dortmund this weekend. The Thomas Tuchel era has officially started with Captain Thomas Müller, the heartbeat of Bayern Munich. And seeing Thomas Müller playing like that against Dortmund, it's bad news to every team in the Champions League. This is one of the most underrated legends of this century in football and one of the top assisters ever in football too. And to see Thomas Tuchel exploiting the best out of him, it just makes sense. Thomas Tuchel signing for Bayern Munich, it's the best decision of his life. Once in a lifetime opportunity, close to his family, and he's in Germany, where he's from, and he's always competing for European competition with the Champions League. It's the best decision of his life for Thomas Tuchel.
And I think it's pretty clear before we actually talk about him making some changes, because he has made changes. It's a different system. It is not the Thomas Tuchel. I mean, it's only been one game, but we'll see. It looks different, right, on paper. But I think for Bayern to ever lose a Bundesliga title, okay, I think Bundesliga fans in general need to see Thomas Müller hang up his boots. I don't think Dortmund, I don't think whoever, Gladbach,
Leipzig.
Wolfsburg, Leverkusen, Leipzig, I don't think any of them are ever getting their hands on it as long as Thomas Müller is still putting on a Bayern shirt. Okay, because I mean it was just impressive how he took that over. Now let's be honest here.
It's a good
okay,
show. I kind of agree, maybe.
Okay, I like the maybe at the end, but Thomas Tuchel got possibly the best gift handed to him at the beginning of a Der Klassiker, and that was from Gregor Kobel at the 13th minute, going out, and he wanted the Manuel Neuer, sweeper keep the crap out of some overhit through ball from Upamecano, I think it was. Completely whiffed, and it went right into the back of the net, ushered there by Leroy Sané. And my goodness, that right after that, you knew the momentum had fully shifted. Any brightness that Dortmund came out with was gone. And by then, I think within 15, 20 minutes after that, it was 3-0 and the game was over. Right? So Gregor Kobel, that stinks, for one, and it takes away from an otherwise good season that he has, I think, had for Dortmund.
No, I think that
but my goodness,
cost Dortmund the title. Like
it definitely did. I think that was my maybe. I was going to say, but maybe don't have the worst fixture that you've had all season on the most important day of your team season.
Exactly.
And that was just, and I think he was at fault. Kobel was at fault on the third goal too. So that was just tough because, for guys that, I love watching the Bundesliga. I love it. Absolutely love it. More so for the young guys that they give chances to. But the only thing that is the running joke or running annoyance for us that love to watch the Bundesliga that don't follow a club in particular is that it's the same team that wins every year. And my goodness, it's as if the script had been written that this was going to happen. And it feels like it happens every dang season.
11th.
So, Thomas Müller, Thomas Mueller, come to MLS or something. I don't know. Let us give you a nice retirement package in the MLS, so that we could maybe see a different team win the Bundesliga at some point. And even then, it's not guaranteed.
Doesn't Philly have like a German player there? Wagner.
Yeah, I got Kai Wagner. Yeah.
So, you know what to do, Kai Wagner. Go and talk to Thomas Mueller and go to Philly.
Let's get it done. Oh, my God. Thomas Mueller at Philadelphia. But the chances of that happen is like me ever lifting a World Cup trophy, okay?
Love it. Schweinsteiger did go to Chicago Fire, so I am like, we don't know. We might see something happen. But like
the best story about that is Chicago Fire won a game, I think, and Bastian Schweinsteiger was like in the highlight package, and a Chicago news anchor said, somebody, one of the media members asked him, how's it feel to win the World Cup? He's not even in the World Cup. He doesn't even know, it's just proof that, we have a long way to go in terms of as a media covering soccer/football in this country. Anyway, where were we going with it?
But with Dortmund, I just want to say Dortmund on my end, Edin Terzic is still the right appointment. The great management that he's done with Dortmund. Yes, they have a young team. Jude Bellingham, one of the captains next to Marco Reus, deservingly so. But to compete against Bayern Munich is very, very hard. And it's so sad to see Dortmund. Like, Bayern is going to win the league after this huge psychological win to Dortmund. And you see Reus, Hummels. You got so many players that are going to leave next season at Dortmund. Maybe. So it's a new era. Gefelkreuter. He was important for Dortmund long term. But mentioning Bundesliga, I wanted to say a shout on my end. I mentioned briefly at the start of the pod, but Xabi Alonso. I am not joking. Xabi Alonso is one of the most promising managers in the world of football. He knows his stuff, Xabi Alonso, and he's 8 games unbeaten with Bayer Leverkusen with this 3-4-3 formation that they beat Bayern Munich, this Bayer Leverkusen team, with the young bucks of Florian Wirtz, Moussa Diaby, and the biggest star with Xabi Alonso, Jeremy Frimpong. The whiff from the right side. They just attack so well from that right-hand side in the 3-4-3 formation. Great circulation on ball and the counter-attacking. You don't see that in the Bundesliga with a lot of teams, but you see them with Leverkusen, with the fast pace of Patrick Schick, Diaby, and obviously now Wirtz doing that decision-making. So, Xabi Alonso, keep doing what you're doing, because that's great work. Great work.
And the personnel was just made for him. The personnel was absolutely made for him. But yeah, that right side, I think between Frimpong and Diaby, that might be one of the better right sides in the world.
In form, yeah.
And in form right now, absolutely. Just in form, I'm saying. Yeah, not like consistently over time. But it could be if they can hold on to him, and that's a big if. And they're also amassing, have quite the young defensive core that he's yet to get the best out of them. But you've mentioned them many, many times in the past. I mean, we are big fans of Tapsoba. We're big fans of Hincapie. We're big fans of Frimpong and big fans of Kusunu. Exactly. And they even are starting they're starting the trend of pooling in Wantaways. But it's somebody I was going to bring up when we were talking about Chelsea. Just, man, we haven't talked about Callum Hudson-Odoi. And unfortunately, at 22 years old, if, like you said, you can't win over one of the best young managers, up-and-coming managers on the planet in Xabi Alonso, and he has not won him over, period. I don't know what else to say and where else it is for a guy like Callum Hudson-Odoi to go. I mean, I remember the days when he was so electric every time he would get in a game, and now,
was with
Where?
Sarri. He was playing with Mauricio Sarri. People say. And then he signed the extension, Callum Hudson-Odoi, that a lot of people said, once he gets that extension, we're not going to see him at the same level. The truth is, Hudson-Odoi, he thought he was going to play first-team football at all times at Chelsea. Chelsea went to sign wingers, and now the question is, will we see Hudson-Odoi ever play for Chelsea? I could see something like Reece Nelson, came back from that foreign loan, a much better player. But I don't think Hudson-Odoi will play with Graham Potter.
No.
If it's Nagelsmann, well, I could see Hudson-Odoi getting a chance. but
Maybe,
very
but
hard.
he's barely played
Very
in
hard.
2023, and it's amazing to me because I remember there was that feeling of hope. End of October, I think he had a goal in the Champions League against Atleti. Yeah, it was against Atletico Madrid. And there I thought for a second he was going to beat out Amin Adli. He was going to beat out some of these other guys to play more consistently. And it just it hasn't come to fruition. And we obviously don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but that's one of those kind of what ifs. And you wish he left sooner. You wish he went to a place where they would actually nurture him. You wish maybe he would have taken a loan earlier on. But my goodness, he's not getting by Moussa Diaby. He's not getting by Amin Adli. He's not getting by these guys anytime soon because they are absolutely on fire under Xabi Alonso.
Great shout. And a player, just to go as a bridge for topic, that's just like Hudson Odoi. I hope he doesn't go to this extent of bad form. Is Ansu Fati with Barcelona.
Yes.
Ansu Fati has scored his first goal since October. And to see Xavi playing the youth of La Masia the way he is, with not Pedri, a young player like Pedri, Gavi there, Balde involved, Ronald Rouge involved, and then on the bench of the Barca team, we see Pedrosa there, we see Angel the striker, great player. It's great decisions overall in Barca, and Barca this season wins the league because of their defense. 20th clean sheet in 27 games. Christensen right transfer. Balde, great decision to put him up. Ronald Rouge, Conde, only right moves from Xavi. And the biggest star of them all is Lewandowski. Lewandowski this season, 33 games, 26 goals, 6 assists. And he's still adapting to Barcelona. Next season, the Champions League, he's setting his eyes to the Champions League. Top scorer of the Champions League. Let's see if that happens. That's wishful thinking if it happens. But expectations are high.
And it's funny you bring that up, right? Obviously, this was Elche, and they're way at the bottom of the table and worst goal differential by far. So you expected Lewandowski to put on a show, right? But it's crazy that he was also coming off of possibly one of the more rockier, rough form, pieces of form that he's had. And he is up to, what'd you say, 27 goals, 7 assists through all comps? 26 goals.
But in the league,
my gosh.
In the league, Lewandowski is the top goal scorer with 17 goals. And Karim the Dream Benzema is with 14 goals. I think Barca's going to win the league and Lewandowski's going to win the top striker. Yes, I know Ramadan Benzema scored 3 goals in 7 minutes, but Lewandowski scored 5 goals in 9 minutes in the past. So both are top strikers.
I'm with you, though. Color me absolutely surprised that Xavi, coming from Al Sadd, his only other real managerial experience, winds up being not quite the best offensive coach, but the best defensive coach in La Liga. And it's not even close in terms of using your personnel and having a structure. And, he even pushed Eric Garcia out over time. And now he's got Eric Garcia playing what? Midfield. He played DM at versus Elche. I'm not saying he's good at it, but he certainly was serviceable as a backup because they have to prepare for a future without Busquets. And even beyond that, he was also smart enough to finally, and we remember this name because you and I have talked about La Masia for a long period of time and the depth of some of these prospects that kind of get lost along the way. Alex Garrido, 19-year-old midfielder, was a guy we knew about when he was 15, 16. I mean, he was, and injuries got in the way, and it was just wonderful to see him finally it was 13 minutes, I think he got, but it was wonderful to finally see him get his shot. But when it comes to Ansu Fati, right, it's one of those kind of, we're dealing with it with Gio Reyna, right? Gio Reyna's mom and dad can't shut up. And I shouldn't be maybe that harsh, but they should shut up, okay? Because they're affecting their very talented, pretty decent human being son's actual career, okay? And Ansu Fati's father decided to jump on a podcast or do an interview or something and say what we all know. Ansu Fati would get more playing time if he signed elsewhere. Right? And it is true, but do we need to say it, Mr. Father?
I hope he
does
stays
it need to happen?
I hope he stays.
stays at Barca too. But listen, you're probably not going to play if you're playing in a system. You're not unless you're Robert Lewandowski and you turn into Robert Lewandowski. You're probably not going to play as much as you'd like to. I don't know what to tell you. Ansu Fati is in and of himself made of something much less stronger than most. Okay, not because something is wrong with him, but he is injury prone. And being injury prone this young, that doesn't just go away. Ask Ousmane Dembele. He's been fighting it for 7 years,
Still
6
is.
years.
Still
Yeah,
is.
it still is.
Currently
So
injured.
I honestly, I just think him maybe being in such what is only going to get a more competitive atmosphere at Barcelona, it actually would make sense for Ansu Fati to leave. It's just his
I
dad
hope
should
not.
probably shut up until the end of the season.
I hope not, because no injuries. The best trio in attack for Barca is Fati, Lewandowski, and Ousmane Dembele. In my opinion, Fati's absolutely brilliant. He's so special of a talent. Ever since we first saw him in the first team of Barca, overshining Messi at the time in that team, Fati was going so bold. And I agree. His biggest enemy are the injuries. But I put Fati in when he's without injuries. I put Fati ahead of Ferran. I put Fati ahead of Rafinha. And yeah, okay, Dembele and Fati, like absolute brilliance with the two.
Well,
but
to go back just one last second about Xavi and my surprise of how defensively potent this team is. 9 goals conceded, and we are 27 matches into the La Liga season. Okay, to do a little math there, if I'm not mistaken, that is 1 goal conceded every 3 matches. Okay, so this isn't them. Yeah, this is not about them busting Elche wide open, who is on their 6th manager this season. This is more importantly about they're not giving busted, crap goals away, even in games like this, where they are expected to win and win big, right? They're not even giving goals away. They're keeping clean sheets because you know what? It's the momentum building thing to do, and they are very clearly. I mean, I'm looking at it right now. I believe it's 74 goals conceded in 78 games since Xavi came in.
Oh my!
Under one is pretty dang good. Under 1 is pretty dang good,
and
considering that it was a rocky period in the beginning.
And that's 9 goals conceded in the league, right?
Yes.
So Ronald Araújo is no doubt in my mind one of the best center backs in the world. You can put him number 1 this season for me, Ronald Araújo. 9 goals conceded in the league only. And when Barca lose the Champions League is when Ronald Araújo is injured in those games. He's vital, absolutely vital to this team. And let's see what happens with Frankie de Jong and other players might be leaving Barca in the offseason. But mentioning, we have an El Clasico 2 coming in 5 days' time. And look, I said it fast. And it's Ramadan season. So if it's Ramadan season, we see Karim the Dream scoring in 7 minutes a hat-trick for Real Madrid. One of the best players I've ever seen for Real Madrid. And yes, now leading up to a game against Chelsea, all Chelsea fans should be afraid of this Karim Ramadan season dream. So let's see.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it, and I don't know how mature this thought is. I believe that Real Madrid's problem this season have been less about the players and actually been more about Carlo Ancelotti. I honestly do believe Carlo Ancelotti has been thinking about the next step this whole season, and it only kind of further confirms that with his recent comments about, oh yeah, Brazil wants me, but don't worry, my attention is fully on Real Madrid. You know, when you tell us that, when you feel like you have to tell us that your attention is on Real Madrid, it feels like you're telling me that your attention is not on Real Madrid. You know what I mean?
I get you. I get you.
I think his mind is drifting, and to be honest, Barcelona's 15 points ahead of them. Is Barcelona 15 points the better team?
No. They're still in the Champions League, though, Real Madrid.
They are still in the Champions League. They absolutely are there. I'll give you that. And maybe his mind will come around for it, but I think Karim Benzema and the player pool is going to kind of take the scruff of the competition by its neck. But But I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing here when it comes to Ancelotti because it does. Part of me feels like one half of 1 foot is already out the door.
I think Carlo Ancelotti won't be at Real Madrid next season. And especially seeing the news with Pochettino being mentioned, Zidane to be back, Raul taking over from Castilla, Luis Enrique? No. 100% Luis Enrique ain't going to Real Madrid, Breton. 100% he ain't going. No. Florentino Perez is a gangster. And a gangster would never appoint Luis Enrique to Real Madrid because Luis Enrique didn't call up anyone of Real Madrid when he was the manager of Barcelona. Of the national team of Spain. Sergio Ramos didn't even get called up. That was embarrassing.
Or maybe a gangster. Or maybe he wants it. No, I'm just
no. But I'm gonna say Ancelotti.
It'd be one hell of a twist. That's for sure.
Oh, the conspiracy. That's a conspiracy. No, but I like it. It's a bold shout. But what I want to say with Real Madrid, I see Vinicius Tobias even coming up too. Sergio Arribas coming up too. They have to keep Sergio Arribas. If they don't, any top 3 team in Portugal, please go and sign up with Sergio Arribas. Outside of the top 5, even I can mention that in another pod. But Vinicius, I want to say, with Real Madrid staying on the topic, it's Vinicius Junior this season has 20 goals scored and 14 assists, and it's because of the development of Carlo Ancelotti with the unbelievable duo with Karim Benzema. No doubt, I'll say Vinicius Junior is the best Brazilian player right now in football. He deserves that title, and that's why I think Ancelotti is so referred to go to the Brazil national team. Casemiro likes him, Eder Militão likes him, Rodrigo likes him, Hendrik, that's going to Real Madrid, he even likes him too, and he's regarded as one of the future players of Brazil. Like Vitor Roque too. If I'm mentioning Hendrik, I want to mention Vitor Roque too. So, just wanted to shout that out too. And Hazard! Yes! First game since September 2021. Hazard finally has played for Real Madrid, and he has, an assist. There you go. I don't think he'll do too much, but that's already nice to see. Him being involved.
Yeah, him being involved. Yep. Well, beyond Barcelona and Real Madrid, though, I just have one. I gotta put it on. I gotta register my affection for Gabri Veiga. Okay. The more I watch of this Celta Vigo midfielder, absolutely phenomenal movement. His IQ. I mean, 20 years old. Okay. He's got 9 goals. He's got 3 assists and 18 starts this season. He's already got 5 goals, 2 assists in just his last 7 or 8 starts. And this is a kid that I think you're going to see. We don't talk about him because Gavi and Pedri, right? We don't talk about him, right? Start to. That's all I'm saying. Start to. Go look at him. Go watch him. I mean, Celta Vigo is not exactly, top 3 material. Won't be anytime soon, but he is leading that team. He is leading that squad with 9 goals, 3 assists. And it's already becoming clear that everybody is starting to catch up to it in terms of the scouting department. They're starting to prepare things. Manchester City is, what I hear, first in line. I believe even Fabrizio Romano might have actually confirmed that. But they're first in line, at least pole position, to sign this kid, Gabri Veiga. Beyond that, we all know Liverpool's looking to completely add, probably overhaul their whole entire midfield. Gabri Veiga has been mentioned in the past him. But beyond that, Real Madrid is, to be honest, the more likely location for all of this as they overhaul and continue to overhaul their attack or their midfield and their depth. More importantly, but Gabri Veiga, he's one that, yes, it's easy to watch Barcelona every day. It's easy to watch Real Madrid every day and pontificate what's going to happen next. But here I am looking at this and saying 3 midfield talents, all 20 or younger, okay, between Gavi, Pedri, and yes, I'm putting Gabri Veiga up there, not above Gavi or Pedri, but my goodness, to have those 3 talents in your midfield and to know that you are going to see them for the next decade plus in La Furia Roja, right? In their lineup. I mean, that is just, first off, it's unfair.
Well,
it's just unfair. It's beautiful.
Definitely Liverpool should be looking at Gabri Veiga. They should be looking at Ugarte. and they should be looking at Manu Kone. All these midfielders would add value to this Liverpool team that they need in midfield 100%. Great shout. And 40
million.
40. Oof, that's but
40 million.
Still not bad. Not bad.
Release
it's a good
clause.
deal. And 60 million with Ugart. Release clause too. Great bargains in my opinion. I think Kone, you can get him for 50 million too. So these three midfielders expect moves from them this summer. But another player that I hope he doesn't move and he stays another season at PSV is Xavi Simons, okay? Xavi Simons is 19 years old. He started for Netherlands against France, okay, at 19. And he's won the Eredivisie Player of the Month for the second time this season. One of the best under-20 talents in the world and the best decision of his career to leave PSG and join PSV. What a moment it was. Bakayoko going bold, like with Ruud van Nistelrooy too. I love it. I love it. I wanted to shout out.
PSG has a buyback clause too, don't they? But I know Xavi has to agree to it.
Exactly.
Right.
I was going to say that.
And it's cheap. It's cheap, right? It's like 14 million or 12. Oh my gosh. That ain't happening.
Xavi, please don't go. Stay at PSV or go to another team maybe. You might have a better opportunity.
Yeah. But the crazy thing is I guess if you're going to go to another team within the Eredivisie, you'd probably want to. Everybody seems to be jumping on the Feyenoord, Arne Slot Feyenoord bandwagon. I believe they're now 22 games unbeaten. I believe they now have a 6-point lead at the top of the Eredivisie. Doing all that after losing all the talent that we named in the last podcast, they're probably going to lose a lot of talent this summer as well. But it is really, really fun to watch. I'm telling you, if you're really bummed about the Bundesliga race kind of being over with, now that Bayern has a whopping 2-point advantage on Dortmund, definitely go check out the Eredivisie race because it's still pretty close with Feyenoord at 6 points atop and PSV and Ajax chasing. And if you don't know the name Orkun Koksu, which you might because he might be joining Benfica, right? That is a guy that this Feyenoord team is built around, and it's wonderful to see.
That's true, and plays for Turkey as a starter. Great shout.
Yes,
and Feyenoord with Arne Slot, 22 games unbeaten, and the development of the squad over the years. They were in the Conference League last season. They're in the Europa League this season. And I think next season, they're going to be in the Champions League. And they're going to sell Koksu, Santiago Jimenez too. Great top goal scorer. And they sold in the past Malacia, Senesi, and Sinisterre. And they managed to find replacements. So great shout out to that. And Orsons, obviously, to Benfica too. But people... Don't forget to like this video, episode 99, episode 100 the next week. Go bold in the topics and say, do you want to see a start bench sell? Do you want to see a specific topic in the next podcast? And yes, Brenton, do you have any last shouts?
Just one last shout, because if you're not aware, apparently there's an Erling Haaland running around in Belgium. Okay. His name is Gift Orban. We've talked about him now the last several episodes. 20 years old. He is absolutely unstoppable right now. I'm calling him Erling Haaland because he's putting up Erling Haaland numbers. This man, Orban, has been there at Ghent. He plays for Ghent. He has been there for not even 2 months, and he has 14 goals, 2 assists in 10 games. 10 starts, I should say. He was just signed 2 months ago. Okay. So if you don't know his name, go check him out right now, because very, very shortly in the next several months, there will be a bidding war on Gift Orban, and it will likely go higher, I think, than the 27 million record transfer fee that KAA Ghent got when they sold Jonathan David for 27 million back in the day. Just need to bring him up because you might have looked at the Nigeria results in their AFCON qualifiers over the last week or two and been thoroughly underimpressed by names like Victor Osimhen, Iheanacho. Gift Orban is one that they might want to try to kind of break things up and maybe get one of those young bucks in there. And all these guys are young that we're talking about. Get him in there. Yeah,
Chilwell.
and Boniface, absolutely. Boniface will definitely move on. Wait, Boniface, no, it's Adingra that's already contracted to Brighton. But Boniface is one that if you're looking for a striker, yes. But Gift Orban, another one. I think his price just went up from, he's got to be above 20 million now. And I think it's going to, Ghent would be dumb after 2 months to let him go for less than what they got for Jonathan David. Jonathan David's best season in a Ghent shirt was 21 goals, if I'm not mistaken. In 10 starts, Orban is 2/3 of the way there almost.
Great show. That's a great show. And Gift Orban being Nigerian too with Boniface.
Yeah.
I agree with you. He might be going for more than the Jonathan David price tag. And if you want cheap players, okay, in Primeira Liga, outside of the top three, you got Fran Navarro, Ivan Jaime, Alexandre Pernetra, Luis Junior, and Ibrahima Bamba. Okay, I wanted to shout out all these players. Watch them out, because all of them can play in a Wolves in the Premier League. I'm saying that right now. All the players I mentioned outside of the top three of the Primeira Liga. But again, don't forget to like this video, episode 99. And if you're here until now, thank you for going bold, community.